Yes, you heard that correctly. The kids are saying, in Chinese, I'm a black monster. My IQ is low. This video was released in February 2020 on a Chinese social media account called, get this, Jokes About Black People Club. Within days, it had more than 4,000 likes and a ton of comments. Some people were laughing. Others were outraged. The word they're using is Haigui, which could be translated as black monster or black devil, but really, it's the Chinese equivalent of the N-word. The controversy even got picked up by Western media and sparked a worldwide debate about anti-black racism in China.
And today, what I found on the internet was so disgusting, and I just can't keep this to myself.
But for me, this wasn't just another online discussion. I was living in China at the time and had experienced these attitudes firsthand. In the end, the internet moved on, but I couldn't get it out of my head. Where was it shot? Why was it made? Who was it who took a bunch of young African kids, happy, excited kids, and made them chant something so demeaning? Those questions sent me on a journey into an industry that is exploiting kids across Africa. I was shocked by what I heard along the way, but in the end, I found my answers. I'm Renako Salina, a writer and journalist. Although I'm now based in London, I lived in China for several years, studying Chinese and working in Beijing. I loved it there, but I didn't always feel welcome. As a black woman in a country with a tiny black population, I experienced countless instances of racism. Sometimes indirectly, but often right in my face. And I soon realized I wasn't the only one. See, I wasn't new to racism before China. It's a global problem. But I'd never been anywhere that made it quite so difficult to speak out. I felt black people in China needed a space to unpack these experiences. So I decided to take a risk. I created Black Liberty China, an online space and website to start that conversation. Hello, 大家好, and welcome to another episode of the Black Liberty China podcast. I'm your host, Renako Salina. One of my guests is Wodamaya, a Ghanaian who's built one of the most popular YouTube channels in the whole of Africa. Wodamaya, like me, used to live in China and speaks Chinese. In February 2020, he used his platform to make a scalding denunciation of the low IQ video.
How on earth would you allow foreigners to come into your country to exploit your own people and at the same time insult the entire black people of this world?
Wodamaya joined the podcast via Zoom.
When my friend sent me the video, listen, I was heartbroken, I was very angry as an African. But I speak and understand Chinese, so I felt like I was the right person to speak against it since I had the platform, just to share the word across the world that, these people are actually taking advantage of Africans living in Africa.
What would you say to people who say, oh, it's just one video, doesn't matter, let it go, forget about it?
This is not just one video, it's millions of videos that one of them just came out. We need to address these issues for the world to know that this is what is happening and it needs to change.
Wodamaya's right. This isn't just one video. The low IQ video is part of a massive industry. In China, over the last few years, it's become a thing to send personalized greeting videos via social media and messaging apps. Happy birthday. Good luck in your exams. Congrats on your wedding. These videos typically sell for anything between $10 and $70 US. For some weird reason, videos featuring Africans have become especially popular. Sometimes it's groups of young muscle men. Other times, it's women in fancy dress. Often, it's kids, usually standing around a blackboard, shouting these greetings in Chinese. The content can be innocent enough. You might even think they're cute. But some of them are, well... In this one, for example, the producer gets the kids to promise they'll always stay in Africa. In this one, a patriotic song about the glory of China, they're made to sing "Yellow skin and dark eyes are the most beautiful." In quite a few of them, we see girls dancing in obviously sexualized ways. Teenagers, and sometimes even younger kids. It's important to say not everyone in China thinks this is okay.
Like what?
I asked Chinese journalist Wan Yuan-song for her take.
The country itself is very polarized. You have people, the vocal critics, saying the whole thing is wrong. You also have people supporting those kind of video filmings. To the customers, this is a very good business. It's actually helping the local people, promoting the relationship between China and Africa. But what actually happened behind the curtain is unknown in China. We want to know what's actually happening.
Despite the debate in China, the industry continues to grow. The most popular videos get millions of views. Some are even used by celebrities like Zhou Kexue, a huge pop star in China, to feature on the big screen as part of stadium concerts. This guy has 56 million followers on Weibo, a site like Twitter. That's the context in which this clip, the Low IQ video, exists. But despite all the heat and fury this clip generated at the time, no one was ever able to figure out who made it. Do you know where it was taken?
I know it was taken in a country in Africa, but I don't know the exact country.
If we were able to find exactly where the video took place, exactly who took the video,
I'll be so happy to see that you guys actually find out the person who's actually doing this. I mean, I cannot go that extreme, but if you can do it, that would be amazing.
I teamed up with my friend and colleague Allium Leroy, who specializes in this kind of forensic digital investigation. We knew that to uncover who made this video, which we called Video Zero, we had to find out where it was shot. When you see the video, it's very zoomed in.
You could see some buildings, some trees, but those were very generic features that you could find in any village across Africa.
I'd already found video operations of this kind running in lots of African countries, but one of the first journalists to report on the Low IQ video had been told, by good sources, that it was filmed in Malawi. We decided to take a closer look.
But wait, we gotta stop a minute. Like, it's still Malawi. There are thousands of villages like this in Malawi. We need more crews.
So we started the painstaking process of downloading and logging hundreds of videos from across Chinese social media that featured similar things. Children holding these placards, holding these blackboards, saying these words they don't understand. We found 2 videos amongst them that actually tagged a location, and that location was called Kamwendo, an area in the west of the country. This area borders Zambia, so we thought, we've got it. Allium then was able to geolocate a football pitch that we saw in some of these videos.
We looked around the football pitch, and although it matched the video that we had with the tag to Kamwendo, so that was right, we couldn't find any of the features that we saw in Video Zero actually in that village. Runako went back to all the video we had logged.
And then we get another breakthrough. And that's a sign in just one of these videos for a company called Shabri Building Solutions Limited. I'll never forget the name. This company, it didn't have a massive profile online, but we were able to speak to an ex-employee by searching for them on Facebook. And they told me, this is Njewa Market.
They brought us back to the capital, Lilongwe, to an area that's called Njewa.
But then the next problem is, there are scores of villages across this area that could potentially be the location. Again, we deep dive into all of this footage, pouring through it. And one video strikes me in particular, and that shows us some pits, sand pits, just outside of the village.
Went on the satellite imagery, looked around Njewa. After, I think it was a couple of hours, boom, we found some pits.
Aliom then looks closely at the buildings, the positioning of them, the proximity of the buildings to trees, the angle.
Every building, every tree was a perfect match. We've got it.
This video, the video that seemed to epitomize everything that's wrong with this industry, was shot right here.
My name is Henry Muhango. I am an investigative reporter based in Malawi. I have worked with BBC Africa Eye to expose human rights abuses, corruption, and violent crime in my home country. Runako was aware of my work here and asked me to help with her investigation. When she showed me the low IQ video, I was shocked. The children shouting those demeaning words were Malawians. It happened under our nose, hidden in plain sight. Amazingly, Runako had managed to find out exactly where this was filmed. She sent me the coordinates, so I set off to find out more. The village is perfectly located to do business discreetly. It's tucked away in the longest countryside and connected to the motorway only through dirt roads. I quickly made friends with a local guy called Moyo, and he told me that an individual had been filming in the village for years, weaving himself into the fabric of the community. But he was not the only one. Other Chinese filmmakers had also been spotted in the wider Njewa area. The situation was more complex than both Runako and I had thought. She made the journey to Malawi so we could join forces and get to the bottom of it. I knew where we could start the next day. Runako and I set off to Njewa Market to find out what the locals made of the filming. Several of them mentioned one man in particular.
What's his name?
Susu. They said Susu was holding some sort of class.
He's trying to impart a bit of his Chinese culture into them.
I just know that they come teaching China language only.
Blackboard.
Some believed the videos were being made for charity. But the children didn't seem to be learning Chinese.
They fail to speak.
And there was more. We were told that the children had begun attending the so-called Chinese classes instead of their regular school. The residents' worries were not unfounded. After receiving a tip-off about Susu's filming schedule, I arranged for a colleague to go undercover. She posed as a schoolgirl and wore a secret camera. This was the first time we had a chance to see the filmmaker in action
and up close. This recording was made at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday, a direct clash with the timetable of the nearby school, confirming the residents' fears.
This industry, these videos are taking these kids out of school.
The Njewa residents had told me one of the reasons why the children preferred Susu's classes was that they were getting paid to attend. In this separate recording, we can see the children receiving some notes and arguing about it. I was told that Susu was paying them less than $50 a day. I have lived in a village just like this. I know the difference that even this small amount can make. I can also understand how some parents could have high hopes that a white foreigner might offer their children a chance for a better future. But I didn't understand Susu. What was he doing here? Why was he using us Malawians for his videos? I wanted to find out more, and Runako knew where to start.
His online presence seems to suggest that he's been here for at least 6 years. The villagers had a name for the man making the films. They called him Susu. It sounded like the Chinese word shushu, meaning uncle. But is this man, Susu, the same man I'd been tracking online? And most importantly, is he the man who made the low IQ video? I showed Henry the findings of my forensic analysis. I'd looked at hundreds of blessing videos posted on Chinese social media and noticed at least 2 different accounts that were regularly posting videos from this village. The content suggested the accounts belonged to the same person. Selfies and vlogs gave us a glimpse of their possible owner, a man in his 20s. Among the posts, there was a single photo of a national ID card. We finally had a name to work with, Lu Ke. The name Lu Ke led us to a Facebook profile. A profile that had just 14 friends. One of them was a journalist from Sweden. So I called him. The journalist told me that he had interviewed Lu Ke in 2017 as part of a TV news report on Chinese traders in Malawi.
Me watch TV, Africa very beautiful, Malawi beautiful. So I'm from China, come Malawi.
The clip was filmed not in our village, but in a town called Kamwendo, 100 kilometers away near Malawi's border with Zambia. I already knew this place, Kamwendo. It's the town I'd seen in all Lu Ke's older videos. The one with the football field. At some point 3 or 4 years ago, he moved from here to Lilongwe. I'd watched hundreds of these videos looking for clues to the man's identity. And then I remembered. In one of these clips, Lu Ke is talking to a young child, and he asked that kid to call him by a nickname.
Uncle, and Susu.
Susu, the man Henry had found in the village near Njewa, and Lu Ke, the man I'd been tracking online, appeared to be the same guy. This was progress, but we still couldn't prove he was the man behind the low IQ video. We needed to get closer to him, and we knew just the person to help us. This is Paul, a Chinese journalist specialized in undercover filming. He agreed to help us find out more about Susu. Posing as a businessman who wanted to commission some video adverts for his chocolate brand, Paul managed to set up a meeting. Henry and I watched the footage, excited to find out more about the man we'd been tracking for months. Paul had to tread carefully. so he started with some general questions about Susu's video making business.
最高峰的时候呢，最厉害的时候，
我最高的记录啊，一天拍380个。
一天还是一个月？
一天。
380个。
一天380个，一张200块，你自己算。
76000。
差不多。
Paul asked how many children were involved in the filming.
基本上约50个小孩子，好不好
？50个小孩子一起拍每一条？
没有分开的，我们早上用一批，中午用一批这样的。
This lucrative shoot hadn't happened in Injewa, Susu said. Earlier on in the conversation, he let the location slip.
那以前在那个很远的地方，快到赞比亚了。
As soon as I heard this, I knew that he was talking about Kamwendo. It was time to pay a visit.
The villages are most similar. Yes.
Kamwendo is a trading post near the Zambia border. In this area too, Susu had found his way to a remote village. We wanted to talk to the kids he'd used as his stars and to find out if they'd shared in the profits that Susu boasted about. Henry had been told that here too, the kids had been paid up to $50 a day. I was keen to speak to the family of one young boy in particular. He was a prolific performer in Susu's videos, known across Chinese social media as Xiao Gula. He was a cute kid, such a natural performer that he became a poster boy for the industry. Even now, you can see him giving the thumbs up in adverts for Chinese blessing videos. It didn't take long to find Xiao Gula and his mum. She invited us inside out of the rain. The boy's real name is Bright. He's now 6.
Do you remember how old you were when you started taking the videos?
4.
4. And what do you remember about taking the videos?
I'm a villager. I'm a villager.
Can you tell us anything about Shushu? What was he like? What was his character, his personality?
I'm a villager.
Bright's mother also told us she saw Susu beating her son.
When you witnessed your child being beaten, how did it make you feel?
Did
you feel like you could do anything to stop it? When you saw that he was in the village and he wanted to make videos with Bright, what were your expectations or hopes? And do you know how much money they were making from these videos? Our investigation found that in just one day, they were able to film 380 videos right here in the village. And they earned tens of thousands of American dollars.
Johnny Bwereka kwambiri. Wamazuzika mithemba imajiro kokeka apa. Kweza kwambiri. ndeti mose mumu mwina pamatha masiku atatu la folo nudwala akadwala amatha obwera ukamuona basi mwina angokwanitsa kongogulirako kanyenya pichi ya nkhuku numpatsa akadya zija ndeti amalwera kuti azipangaso abwera akantengebe audwala choncho akapangeso ndene soncho nipweteka mumtima mwanga koma phindu lake osaliona. Anzokhudza zoyenera ndi yakhudza ifolo ineso zonikhudza podalira kale potengera ine mmene mwana amazizisa.
I left Kamwendo disturbed by how Bright had been exploited, but not surprised. I'd watched hundreds of videos that Shushu had filmed in these villages. Again and again, he'd used these kids to create a picture of African poverty, a picture that allows him to be the hero and savior. Paul had told me that Shushu was kind of a misfit, someone who had come to Malawi as a migrant worker and never really acquired any status within his own diaspora community. But here, in the village, surrounded by African kids, he could be a king. In one video, he even has the children washing his feet. It's a social media performance in which the kids, real kids like Bright, are used as poverty porn to elicit sympathy back home in China, as extras to boost his status, and as commodities that can be made to sing and dance for profit. We'd learned a lot on our trip to Kamwendo, but we still couldn't be sure that Shushu was the man behind the low IQ video. Paul, our undercover operative, had met Shushu for a second time. We sat down to watch the footage, hoping to learn more. This time, Paul asked if Shushu could shoot adverts for chocolates featuring a female model. Shushu said it wouldn't be possible. Shushu seemed to think he could get anyone to join, even the waitress.
The attitude is anyone will do. Who
Sure.
cares?
Yeah, right, yeah. 你是在非洲待久了，我的抖音里面他们是分不出谁跟谁的，他说黑人都是一个样的。
Paul dropped the suggestion of working with a model and moved the conversation onto doing business in Malawi.
这边的黑人做生意怎么样？你在这里工作久？
他们不会做生意，他就是说今天有吃的把你干完，然后他就走了，然后第二天过来，黑人就这个德行。然后这些还算好了，不好一点就是偷你东西，上当迟到，然后怎样，然后你把他开除还要去告你，怎么很复杂。其实这方都是他的错，他反过来咬你一口，就这样的。
As Shushu seemed keen to share his advice on managing local workers, Paul prompted him to keep going.
你不要对他嘻嘻哈哈，就是说怎么很好的朋友，你直接就是你拿出你当老板的态度，就是说怎样对待员工的，就是说要铁面无私，就这样的冷血，就这样的。但是在这个前提下，他们都兢兢业业的给你干活的话，也可以给他一颗枣。 就是说，给他们也一点甜头。
这黑人都是这样的。
对，基本上都是这样，85%以上，只有15%或者5%，那么少数部分人是有良知的，基本都没有。
Susu had a specific warning about some black people in particular.
他都是讲中国话的黑人，越讲中国话的黑人，坑你越厉害。
Considering that he was supposedly in Malawi to teach Chinese, I found this particularly ironic. But Susu wasn't done with his opinions about black people.
千万不要可怜他们，你要记住这个东西，千万不要可怜他们，不管是他们家里怎样了，不要可怜他们，这是最主要。你把这句话放在心里，对待黑人，行了。就是说，他们接受这份工作的人，愿意认真去干的人，好，把他留下来。这些愿意留下来的，偷都是会偷的，
都会偷。
所有的黑人都是会偷的，没有不偷的黑人。
你那些小孩子他们好不好管理啊？你这个
都一样的。所以说这个我先带走了。
OK。
到时候你再跟我讲哈。
好的，那我把那个。
I feel like I'm at loss for words. A complete loss for words, Henry. How could he say this so openly? Susu's videos are often crudely patriotic. Followers back home are made to think he's helping Malawi in the name of China. In reality, his racism is an insult to the many Chinese people who don't share his views. And it's the exact opposite of the image China seeks to promote in Malawi and across the African continent. Chinese officials often refer to African countries as China's friends and equals. A tour around Lilongwe gave me the chance to appreciate just how visible China's presence has become.
And another one there too.
And just how much money China has spent to support its diplomatic rhetoric. The Chinese government has sponsored several high-profile projects, including this state-of-the-art stadium. It was built with a $70 million loan.
This hotel is the first five-star hotel in Malawi.
This five-star hotel was funded with a $90 million loan.
This is the new...
And this building, the Parliament, was free. A gift from China to Malawi.
Yeah, look, China Aid right on the building.
Yeah, sure.
I could see for myself China's presence in the city, but I wanted to better understand how it was perceived locally. We invited a group of Malawian professionals to join us for a chat.
But when the Chinese came in, I think there was that quick injection of infrastructure. In some ways, it was kind of an enticement. Yeah, because it was kind of like a new friendship. So, you know, maybe China also wanted to impress in some ways.
You know, in Malawi, I think we have people are not being employed. So the coming in of Chinese shops, Malawians are getting the employments from the Chinese people. So I think it is really improving the lives of our Malawians out there.
I would say it's a 50-50 situation. They're taking up business that are supposed to be done by locals, which is a very big problem, which is, you know, which is not supposed to be the case.
Putting politics and business aside, I asked my guests how Chinese migrants and Malawians interacted at the individual level.
To me, I regard them as our development partners. People who are friendly, we can interact with them.
But there was some tension too.
So I think on the part of individuals, some of these Chinese, they don't abide by the laws. There has been reports about harassment between Chinese to a Malawian employee. Many of them, like beatings, and then low wages.
As the two communities become closer, a mix of customary hospitality, misunderstandings, and poverty seems to have created fertile ground for the blessing video industry.
You know, when they are seeing these Chinese coming, these are people that probably they didn't even know if they are going to have food on that particular day. So I would say this business, it is thriving because of the fact that they are dealing with people that are not knowledgeable and also that are poor.
Yvonne's analysis fitted perfectly with what we knew about Susu. Everything about his business depended on the poverty of the kids in Njewa. But had he gone so far as to make those kids racially insult themselves on camera in the Low IQ video? It was time to ask Susu directly. Paul had arranged another meeting. Henry and I were anxious to see the footage.
Okay.
Paul began by giving Susu a script for the chocolate ad.
第三个方案呢，就是用那个12秒钟左右，就是那个说巧克力，让非洲小朋友变伶俐。
好，可以。要不要跳舞？这个非常舞。我拍摄了这么多视频了，几千个、近万个视频，我什么视频不知道？不管你是广告的也好，生日的好，结婚的也好，各种各样、各种刁难的问题，我全部拍过，全部不管从简单到难，我都拍过。
那个有一个当时很出名的一个在引起轰动的，在那个朋友圈里面，还在那个群组里面在举办，有一个就是你拍的这个很搞笑的，就是。
点开就看一下就知道了。
那个真的当时很火，因为很久之前我好像在群里面。
那个也找出来就可以。
哦，这个。
这是我的。这个是你的。
He said this was mine. He said this was mine.
Video?
Yeah, he's just looked at it and he said on screen, "Oh, this was mine."
这个是你的。
哦。错，这个不是我的。
Hold on.
跟我一块的那个朋友拍的，回去了。
He says, and then he says, "Oh, no. This is not me. It was my friend."
哪个朋友？
福建的朋友。福建的朋友，对，他已经回国了，这是他拍的。
哦。
He said that the friend from Fujian. It looks as though he'd let a secret slip. He says it so excitedly, and then suddenly he reverses and he says, "Oh, no. This was a friend who took it."
这个是有一个是存在争议的一个事。
是不是有？这个很火，当时朋友圈里面好多人发觉得很好笑那个。
这个错，这个我建议你删掉，因为你现在在。
他在朋友圈里面。
我知道，我建议你手机不要留这个东西，不要给黑人看到这个东西，不然的话你会被他们攻击的。
他们看不懂。
错，中国人，我建议你删掉这个事。你不要。
就是他是在那个
我知道
群里面的，
朋友圈、微博各个地方都发完了，我是知道的。我就是建议你不要存在手机里面，直接把它删掉。
He knows it was a controversial thing.
Why is he getting worried if he's not the one who did it?
Despite Shushu backtracking on the low IQ video, his racist views were there for all to see. I felt the time had come to confront him, but I didn't want it to be just my words that he'd be hearing. Walking around the village near Njewa with just a still photograph, Henry, incredibly, had managed to find some children who recognized themselves in the low IQ video. We showed them the video and asked them to point themselves out.
I know you.
That's you?
I'd stared at that video so many times, wondering what happened to those children. It was surreal to have them in front of me. We sat with one of the fathers and one of the grandmothers to tell them why their children were really being filmed. These videos earn him quite a bit of money. Over the years, this man has been able to earn millions of kwacha just filming children from your village.
Yellow pack. Wasalubira go vimene abagone tsava gone tsawa na tuwa kuringo vuriga akomavao. Dona ni kumalawi ontolu vuriga zedi no mene. Ndeji mene joncho vuriga zedi jufuga muntu kaya uliwo vuriga bakomavako khale bakomavako pasatu ina jiru kubwela kuja amarinza kuthandizira wana bamene wana sakuthandizira ncho wawa jimene.
Natida vuriga nawo kubereka kulera te muntu ina akangochoka uko kumadza apanga business anawo izinthu zoti ifeza tikhumudwitsa kwambiri chifukwa ana abwera ngati bungwe chifukwa choti amaoneka kuti ndi mzungu ife tinakhulupirira kuti mzungu uyuyu ndiye kuti atithandiza.
We then revealed that some of the videos had a more sinister tone.
Muthu akufuna kuti muone.
Mu China chikutanthauza kuti ine ndine chisatana chakuda ndiponso ndine chisiru chenicheni.
Nkisaranadi. Fogoyo nangara kawa kumana kumamvinitsa dzolo seili vitu.
Ndi ana athu amene ali apa. Ndiye ukhanga kuti ana athu akwatengera ngati zinyama zoti zoswa chithandizo chilichonse.
Amatendifa zitsilo fogoya marugo athu wakuda nchifukwa chonena kuti ndifo mphawi. Nchifukwa chakamakalilengeza uko amadzogo ne kuti yawa uno mphawi olibe chilichonse. Udyera jani omphawi oko okulilongwe.
If we do decide to approach this man, is there a message that you'd like us to give him?
Kunangofunika kuti munthu amene atachoka dera linoli atangochokeratu sukuti tikhoza kusangalala ndiye kuti moyo wathu ukhala pamtendere.
This father's message for Susu couldn't be clearer. It was time to deliver it. So is this him over here, Henry?
Yeah, sure. So we are here in the village, and this is the guy that is in the video. I think you can speak to him in Chinese so that you like it's very.
哎，你好，你好，我是一位来自英国的，对，来自英国的一个记者，我们是英国广播公司的记者们。这是我的同事。我能戴一下口罩吗？因为可以，我也可以戴口罩，没事，我也戴了这里的口罩，没事。我们听说你在这里要拍这些视频，没事，你先找一下你的口罩，没事。哎哥，你叫什么名字呢？
啊，我叫叔叔。
叔叔是吗？当地的小孩子们都叫你叔叔是吗？
是的，是的。
那你在这里拍这些视频的原因是什么呢？你为什么要拍这些视频呢？
因为我想传播一种中国文化、音乐、舞蹈，这里都包括已经中国的文字、汉语，you know， 文字、中国文字，还有可以唱中国歌，然后又跳舞，这个意思。
你到这个农村的时候，你跟他们说你要教这些小孩子们中文，但是这些小孩子们完全听不懂。
听懂。
听得懂是吗？
对。
你教了这么长时间，但是他们一个说话没有，那对。他们听得懂是吗？
对，有。
所以你的主要目的在拍这些视频的时候是什么？你要挣钱还是你要帮助当地人？
是吗？公益。
这些孩子们应该上学，但是他们没机会上学，因为他们每天要拍你的这些视频，知道吗？你知道吗？你要回答这些问题吗？你一定要回答这些问题。
你知道是因为他们上学是上半天的，你知道吗？
上半天是吗？
对，他们去上学。去他们自己学校上学，然后上完学，然后再过来额外的学习一下这些中文。
所以你通过拍这些视频，你能挣钱吗？
不能赚钱。
真的吗？
真的。
所以你为什么要拍这些视频呢？
我喜欢跟他们在一起的那种感觉。
如果我说我有证据，我有依据，你怎么回答呢？
你那些赚钱的是那些代理，就是说。国内在中国的
有代理是吗？
不是代理，
但是你刚刚说的是代理，所以这是一个很大的行业嘛，有代理那么大，
你
为什么需要代理呢？如果是一个简单的拍视频呢，不是公益的，你为什么有代理呢？
因为我如果没代理的话，我就没有钱给他们买面包。
所以你。
I asked why the locals were under the impression he worked for a charitable organization.
我可以回答这个指控，他指控我说在慈善机构工作，但是我们不是在慈善机构工作，这是他的诽谤。你知道吗？
这是误会是吗？
这是误会指控。
他们说你曾经会打过小孩子们，
打过小孩子，
用你的手，对。
我没有。
没有是吗？
对，这是一个误会。
你为什么觉得他们会这样说吗？
这是一个误会。
误会都是误会是吗？
不，有一部分可能是认错人了。
所以谁打他们呢？
谁的可能是另外的人打，
另外的人也是，
但是我不是，我没打他。你问一下这些小朋友，我是没有打过他们的。
而且你要利用这些小孩子们，知道吗？这算是剥削，你知道吗？你要剥削这些小孩子们，这是对的吗？
你说完了没有？我没有剥削他们。很多的有一些人，马拉维的人很友善的，我知道的，我很喜欢他们。但是还有一少部分人是排华，you know排华，对，就是说。对中国人有一种排斥的感觉， 这有很小很小的一部分人，但是大多数马拉维人都是很友善的。
因为我们已经听到你跟我们说。你不太喜欢这些人，
而
且我们看到你拍的那个视频，让这些小孩子们说我是黑鬼至上帝，这是你拍的吗？
这不是我拍的，那真的不是我拍的。
但是这是在这个农村拍的
啊，可能是。
所以是谁拍的？你告诉我们。
那个已经
告诉我们的观众
回国了，
已经回国了。所以你没有曾经说过，大部分的黑人都没有良知，你没有这样说吗？
我说大部分人都是喜爱中国人。
但是你之前一直说，我们已经看到，我们有一句你知道吗？我们有证据，所以你可以说真话就比较好。
我一说真话，我说真话。
你没有说过，一大部分的黑人没有良知吗？
我没
说过，
我没说过。
OK，你没有说过，没有一个不偷的的黑人吗？
我没有说过，
没有说过，真的吗？
我没有说过，
真的吗？
真的，这是我确定，我没有说过。
你没有说过，能讲普通话的黑人是最坏的黑人，最危险的黑人吗？
没有。
真的吗？
对呀。
所以你不觉得这些可爱的小朋友们是黑鬼吗？你觉得我是黑鬼吗？
不是。所以说，我很喜欢他们。我5年以前曾经给一个中国人工作，但是就是我打工的时候，我给他们工作的时候，确实家里来了3个黑工，就是说工人，就是说他们做东西的时候偷东西偷走了，所以那个就我被他洗脑了。他跟我讲，这是5年之前。
但是你也是2周以前。
2周以前我没有说过。
所以你觉得我的智商低，因为你不在说真话，所以你肯定觉得我的。
我已经说真话。
Okay. Basically, he's admitted some things. He's admitted having opinions that were not very kind about black people and about Malawian people.
Yes.
But he said this was 5 years ago, and he's denied everything that we have seen in video of him saying. He's denied it, basically.
Yeah.
He also denies making the video that we believe he made. So it just feels like this isn't productive anymore. He's not going to admit anything else.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, there was a confusion.
I'd spent so long poring over Shushu's videos, fretting over what was happening behind the scenes. Now, I knew. But as I prepared to leave Henry, this discovery felt bittersweet. Sweet because, together, Henry and I had exposed one of the worst examples of the racism that we all face on the continent and in the diaspora. Bitter because we both knew that this was bigger than Shushu.
As I looked across my country, I thought about all the people down there who were still struggling with poverty. Many of them assumed that foreigners have come to help. Susu exploited that good faith. He came to Malawi and betrayed our children.
We had disrupted one operation by one man in one village, but I only had to turn on my phone to see that this industry was going global. Somewhere on these apps and websites, somewhere on this continent, there were other Shushus, other Brights, other kids being exploited for the profit and entertainment of people far, far away.